Hey everybody, guess what? Oh wait, first, I'm Devin Francis, also known as Leonard Meltzer.
Yeah, what are you doing?
I'm breaking format, Victoria.
I'm Victor Frankenstein.
I'm coloring outside the lines like Bart Rathbone in Sunday school. Guess what we're doing today, Victoria? Finally.
Album 61.
Album 61. Yeah. Without
Woo!
a hitch.
Good high five.
This must be the closest to the album airings that we've ever actually probably released stuff.
We're all done recording. We pre-recorded every episode review for this album.
Yeah, and we're close enough to catching up that this is only going to come out maybe like 9 or 10 days after it was supposed to. So that's really close. That's
pretty good for us.
Yeah. So what episodes are we talking about today specifically?
Feud in Mason County and Parker for President.
Correct. Episodes 801 and 802.
Disclaimer, I know I'm going to say it later in the review, but I was very harsh about my predictions for this album. So, expect me to enjoy this album more than I thought I would.
Yeah, and so we'll throw back Thursday this now to a couple months ago, when we talked about it way back when, all those
little... Our hair is going to be like all different lengths.
Young, naive Devin and Victoria.
We're going to be so short.
They'll be so tiny and precocious. Aww.
So to pinch their little cheeks.
So we'll turn you over to that right now. And here we are to talk about episode 801. The Feud of Mason County, written by Bob Hoofs. Episode 801, which by itself is pretty cool to think about. What happens in this episode, Victoria?
So in this episode, we pick up where we left off with album 60, like the finale, and Whit is on his vacation. He goes on vacation with Red. Odd choice, but okay. I don't know. And so, I totally lost my train of thought.
He goes on vacation.
Then he goes fishing. And right as he's leaving, Red gives him this map, and he warns him not to run into these two opposing clans because they're kind of weird. And so then, right as Whit leaves, he runs into the clan, like one person from one of the clans, and he is taken hostage for the horrible crime of product placement. And so then they take him. Yeah, I've been holding on to that joke for like 2 weeks. It's not very good, but I'll take what I can get. I'll explain it after.
I like it.
And so I feel like 2 people are going to get it. And so then he meets both the clans, and then it turns out no one actually owns the property that they're fighting over in the first place, and they're all Christians, and they're all like, to quote the Bible, and they're never actually quoting the Bible.
To quote the good book, Victoria, please.
Yeah, to quote the good book. The good book says, that's what they say.
It says something.
They say, like,
none of us have ever seen a Bible in our lives, so not like we're gonna know, but what you gonna do?
Yeah, no, like, we don't need a good book. We got it stored in our hearts. And I'm like, yeah, guys, that's not how it works. So,
because
in our
we
heads and in
smart.
Our hearts. And there's
just channeling the
like
Christmas
my
shoe
accent
tree
when I'm trying to like really overcompensate for my accent in the musicals that.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're channeling the Christmas shoe tree right now.
Yeah, and so then Whit and Red fix everything, and then they stop fighting. And it wasn't actually as cliche as I thought it would be.
Yeah,
they handled it pretty well.
We were both pretty negative expectation-wise heading into this one.
Yeah.
Not that bad.
Not
amazing, but not that bad.
It was also like that one episode of Doctor Who, like with Classic Who, where the lady is like the doctor, and then he gives her some chocolate, and then she thinks he's like proposing.
The Rome one.
Because there was this lady, and Whit called her by her first name, and apparently her husband had passed away. And she's like, "Oh, ain't no one called me by my first name in such a long time." And he's like, "Well, okay, I'm just being nice." And she's like, "You're so nice, like using please and thank you at the dinner table, and you're a good book man. I think you should be our pastor, and I also accept your marriage proposal." And he's like, "Hold on, what?" And I'm like, "Oh, wait, just picking up women wherever you go." First Margaret Faye, and now this.
Yeah, I did put a joke about that. Like, why is Whit such a hunk to every young and single senior citizen out there?
It really reminded me of
what's his name's mom from Here to Gone Tomorrow.
Yeah, Miss Sutton.
Yeah. Edith.
Edith, I'm very good at scooping. I don't want to know what that means. That's like my favorite one of her lines.
That's so funny when you say it out of context. It just sounds like innuendo.
I know. That's why I said it out of context. You want
The
if you don't think
intonation
that's
of it,
actually
the
one
way
of the lines. It is from Broken Armed and Dangerous. Look it up.
the most surprising cameo for someone to come back in Odyssey ever, to be quite honest. Because Mrs. Sutton coming back 6 or 7 albums later.
Is that the only other episode she's in? I thought
Yeah.
she was in a couple more.
No, she's in
That's
Here
so
Today, Gone
weird.
Tomorrow, and then she comes back for Broken Armed and Dangerous.
Are you crying?
It's just a little. So it's been a while since we've heard from Red Hollard. Oasis Season 1, to be specific, where we heard from
I wasn't a big fan of Red when he first came in, but then because of Sergeant York, I really like him.
We've heard from him. We heard from him twice in Oasis Season 1, but that's the last time that he was there. And I think the last time before that was
Like a Good Neighbor? Is that his latest OAC episode?
yeah, Like a Good Neighbor was and Lone Lawman. So Lone Lawman came after that.
It did?
Yeah, because Lone Lawman was the
checking.
August one, I think, and Like a Good Neighbor was July.
How do you remember what months they are?
I don't know. I do. They just the months. I create associations.
Like a Good Neighbor is the one right before Lone Lawman.
Yeah. July and
Right.
August, because the September one is 30 J's. That's September. The months just associate themselves in my mind with the episode for some reason.
I mean,
Some of them are
for
easy, some
me,
of them are
the Like a Good Daughter, or whatever it's called, that one, I'm always like, December.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. So, sounds like you pointed out, we were right in our predictions. Whit is out here with Red because he's on the break that he alluded to at the end of Between the Lines. So nice
you
continuity.
got that one. I never made the connection.
Yeah.
So you get a point. Except for you will never beat me with points.
I'll take this point and I'll hold it close to my heart. You're like greedy
Take what you
King
can
David in the story of Bathsheba, and I'm just Uriah the Hittite with my one little point wife sheep.
I'm gonna kill you in
and
battle
I'm just-
and steal that point for
and
myself.
I have my little lamb that I love so much. I'll care for it.
I'm gonna send you to the pie war, like in Veggie Tales.
No, not the pies.
Yes. I'm gonna
Um,
take your rubber duck.
I have to say, it's rather irresponsible of Whit to go on a multi-day fishing trip completely on his own, way out in the wilderness with no reception in an unknown area he's never been before, coming off of a number of health issues. Like, that's like the worst possible
I don't care
idea.
I could totally see like Whit saying, "Oh yeah, like it doesn't matter because it wasn't actually something wrong with my health. It was just like spiritual feelings." And I'm like, "Wait, I don't care." Also, I thought it was the most ironic thing Whit has ever said at the beginning of the episode when Red's like, "Are you sure you should be out here and stuff and like not back in Odyssey?" And Whit's like, "No, I need to be here. Doctor's orders." And I'm like, "Whit, did you just say the phrase doctor's orders? Who gave you the right
No, that's
to
where
start quoting doctor's orders
that's where
now?"
Red's like, "Can I see those doctor's orders?" And there's Parks and Rec where he holds up the sign. And Red is just like,
I can
"This
do what
just
I
says I
want."
can do what I want."
But was that your reaction when he said doctor's orders?
I didn't think about it, to be honest.
I was thinking,
didn't
like,
catch
that poor woman. Oh my goodness, I feel so bad for all the doctors who have to deal with the Whitakers.
Yeah, but yeah, even if Whit hadn't had any health issues, you shouldn't go on that long of a trip where you can't check in and you have no way to contact anyone completely by yourself in an area you've never
Can you imagine
been
if
before.
like he just crossed paths with someone and the guy was like, "Oh," and the guy sneezes, and this is a Dane Cook reference, and then Whit's like, "God bless you," and the guy's like, "I'm an atheist," and Whit like clutches over, he's like, "Ah, I'm having a heart attack," and he falls on the ground.
Yeah, you should always you should need to have at least one person with you when you do
Yeah, I
something like
definitely
this.
think
It is
so.
extremely foolhardy. I don't care if you've been there before and you weren't unhealthy and any stuff like that, is possibly the stupidest thing Whit has ever done.
I mean, like, even if you're just a random person and you're just going, like, fishing in the wilderness by yourself for 5 days, take someone with you. Don't go by yourself. You don't know what's going to happen.
In case something happens. That's why if you go out like on a boat or something, you must always have a boat plan that says where you're going, who you'll be with, when you're going to be back, ways that you can check in or be contacted. You need to leave
Yeah,
stuff
even when
like
I
that.
go to the grocery store and I'm leaving my house to, like, pick up some milk or something, I go over to my parents, I'm like, okay, I'm going here. If I don't come back within 2 hours, send the police, and then I leave. Actually, it's more like if I don't come back within, like, 20 minutes, send the police.
Good
we
responsibility.
live close.
It's true.
Yeah, I'm responsible.
So, I think this is what you were making a joke about earlier. I'm like, that's it, Whit. Entice the country hick man with McDonald's jokes. That'll do you good.
Yeah, because the clans are named...
Dagmar and McNutt.
Yeah, McNutt and Dagmar. And so then the Dagmar guy comes up to Whit and he's like, are you a McNutt? And Whit's like, I've never had a McNutt. I've had a McMuffin, though. And then the guy is just like... He's like, I'm taking you in now. And that's why I said he takes Whit in for the horrible crime of product placement.
Yeah, I was thinking about, like, you know, oh man.
I mean, I would kidnap a guy for doing stuff like... Either that, I'd be like, okay, you're coming with me because I'm going to punish you. Or my other response would be, I never want to see you again. Stay far away from me.
Because I'm trying to picture them in their minds like, is he a sitter or ain't he? And Whit's like... cheesy McDonald's joke, and they're like, yeah, he's a sitter.
The good book says not to do product placement for McDonald's because it is evil.
Honestly, why do people in these stories always assume that the visitor has to be a spy for the other side or whatever? Like, does Whit sound like he was born and bred in Tennessee to you?
What you know what I liked actually at the end when they grabbed Red and then they brought him in, they're like, we found another spy, and then Maybelline, which is like the mom of the Dagmar guy who took in Whit.
I can't believe she's not
Maybelline.
Maybelline.
Who accepted Whit's proposal. She sees Red and she's just like, you dunderheads, don't you recognize a hollard when you see one? And I was like, thank you for not assuming the worst about Red for once. At least one person's like standing up for him.
I did have a note about that. I was like, I like how Ma can instantly distinctively recognize a hollard from a McNutt from a Dagmar purely by general appearance. And I'm like, now I don't want to assume that is the result of inbreeding, but I don't think it's because of their differently color-coordinated fashion senses.
I hope they have, like, t-shirts that say, like, Team Dagmar and Team McNutt.
I mean, honestly, it's probably just that one is just, like, a cool blue-based palette in all their clothes, and the other one's a red-based palette in all their clothes. Let's be honest, but... That wasn't even
red versus blue.
That wasn't even an RVB reference. It's that in everything ever where you need opposing color schemes, it's always red and blue as opposing colors for anything.
So original, Halo. So original.
So
5 stars.
About 3 minutes in this episode, I was like, man, I'm gonna have to put up with these accents for 20 minutes, aren't I? Better strap in.
They're pretty over exaggerated. But is it just me, or did it remind you of like the cheesy accents we did and we overemphasized on purpose for our Christmas musicals?
Yeah. Also, I got a lot of flashbacks to Duck Dynasty as well.
Yeah, I actually thought of Duck Dynasty too the first time I heard it.
Man, the guy that took Whit, I was like, he is so done for the moment he decided to misquote the Bible to Whit. I was arguing for something, he like said it, and I was like, oh, now you done it. Now you done it. Now you brought the thunder.
The good book says this is the sword of the spirit, and then he just whacks him in the head with the Bible.
Yeah. As soon as he did that, I was like, oh,
were you just taken aback a little bit too when I think this was they did this on purpose though, because they keep on saying the good book says like all the time, as we've said a couple times now. And then Maybelline says, oh yeah, we don't have a Bible. Were you just like...
I was like that, yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, guys, this isn't...
She also offered Whit to be their pastor to like their clan. I thought that was interesting. I'm like, maybe it's because he's the only one with common sense and knows what he's talking about. Yeah. Probably is.
I was like, you could not pay me enough to live in a place like this. Honestly. I was listening to this, I'm like, there are people who actually live in communities like this. This is barely fiction.
twice because I listened to it the day it came out, and it came out a couple weeks ago, and then I re-listened to it last night.
I really wish that we could have heard the end of Whit's phone call to Red, where it's like, "Hey, Red, you know how you said to avoid Mason County? Well, I may have accidentally started a blood war. My bad."
What you gonna do?
I really appreciated that this story structure, this story formula, gets on so much quicker when the leader of at least one of the sides is actually sensible and rational, like Ma
I know.
was. As opposed to every other time I've seen this, and it was, so refreshing.
I think, like, there are a couple versions where the leader does listen that I've seen of this story structure, like, but the most infuriating ones are the ones that don't do it. And I remember, like, the worst case for this was the MLP one, because none of them would listen to anything anyone was saying for, like, the entire 23-minute episode. They don't start listening until, like, 20 minutes in, and it was just so infuriating. Oh my goodness.
The moment when Twilight lets out that enormous burst of magic that just freezes absolutely everyone in place, I'm like, oh, that's so satisfying. Thank you, finally.
And it was, like, this moment of quiet, and you're like, yes.
Peace has returned to my life.
Yeah.
So Whit tries to figure out what's going on with the land. He calls Red so they can figure stuff out. I was like, please tell me that Whit owns the lake. Because when Red arrives, he says that he had Whit's paper and that it cost him $1 for something. And I'm like, we all know that when something costs Whit $1, it must be the purchase of an enormous piece of land. Whit bought the lake, and he will continue the slow growth of his Whit's End franchise after the mysterious disappearance of Whit's End Connellsville.
10 years later, Whit's like, I own the world, and all it cost me was $50.
Yeah. And then it turns out, oh my goodness, I was right. They actually did buy the land for $1. I'm amazed that no one from either clan, as soon as he said that, didn't just shoot him dead right on the spot when he said that, so they could take
I
the
loved that, like, they were explaining everything, and they're like, do you understand? And everyone responds with, like, oh, we understand that we have a new enemy, and I was like, oh my gosh,
I know.
Not again.
But it was so funny, because I was thinking...
thought they were actually going to end the episode that way, like, they were going to run him out, and they're like, well, sometimes you can't win them all, and then the episode ends.
You win some, you lose some.
This time, we lost some.
Yeah, I thought it was funny because Whit, like, called Red and he's like, okay, I have an idea, here's what I need you to do all this. He tells Red exactly what to do, and when Red shows up, he's like, I bought the lake for $1. And I'm like, I feel like Whit right now is like those malware ads that you see on the sides of websites all the time that's like, real estate agents hate him. This one local old man discovers this weird trick to buy enormous plots of land for precisely $1.
See, but it would cost us like $500 because the US dollar is more than the Canadian dollar right now.
Yeah, it's horrific exchange rate, yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it when they're like, Red is the child of both sides. I was like, he's the chosen one. It's like,
He's the chosen one.
He's fulfilled the prophecy.
McNutt clan, Dagbar clan. These clans once lived in harmony.
But everything changed
Only
when
the
lake
Hollard
disappeared.
can unite them. But
Yeah.
he's been gone now for 100 years.
It actually
It would be amazing if they were having that conference between both clans, and then all of a sudden they're explaining the deed stuff, and then Eugene shows up, and he's just like, I have the deed, I filed the claim, and then Bernard appears and is like, you only have the one to the entrance, and we're far away from the entrance now.
I found the underground lake of fish. And then he pushes Eugene off a cliff.
His laugh is so crazy. Oh my gosh.
When Red said he was the child of both sides and he was explaining his grandparents and stuff, the first thing that it made me think of was Eugene explaining in Feud for Thought how he's like, well, you know, I'm a Mushnik, but I'm also a Meltzner. But the thing that it made me wonder then is if he is directly a descendant of just the Dagmars and the McNutts, then why would he look so distinctive that Ma could immediately tell he was a Hollard as opposed to a McNutt or a Dagmar?
What I'm wondering is why doesn't he live here? If he's like,
would you live there if they lived there?
No, I mean, like, it seems like they all kind of were born and grew up here. So if he was, unless he wasn't born here.
He might not have, but think about this too, Victoria.
This genealogy is way too confusing.
Think about this. His like, ancestors who got together. One was a Dagmar, one was a McNutt, and they got married. Do you really think that they would have been able to continue to live there?
True. It's kind of like a Romeo and
It was
Juliet
exactly that,
thing.
yeah. They definitely had to move away to start the Hollard clan. So
wouldn't they... That's probably why the Hollard clan doesn't live anywhere near them.
Yeah.
But wouldn't they know about that? Like, wouldn't they hate Hollards or something? I could imagine them hating Hollards and not knowing why they hate Hollards.
Yeah. I don't know.
But they're like, oh man, you're Hollard? Cool, come hang out with us.
Holla!
Hollard!
Yeah, let's not try and bring rationality into this.
True. All our rationality ended once we heard their accents. I understand that people do have accents like this.
Yes.
But it was just kind of...
grating.
Distracting for the plot. And... because you're supposed to kind of focus on other things. And... I don't know. I feel like it could have been toned down a little bit, probably. But I get that, like, it's trying to be, like, kind of slightly exaggerated, kind of like Hollard's accent is.
Yeah. They're in the thick of Tennessee, you know, cut off from civilization.
But I do know that people have accents like this in, like, normally. So.
That's true. So yeah, in the end, everything gets resolved. Whit brings him a whole bunch of Bibles, thank goodness. I'm like, honestly, it is certainly a lot easier to bring peace in this sort of situation when everyone is already set on following the word. And as soon as Whit can be like, actually, this is what the Bible says. And they're like,
I know, I was so happy, because I thought they would all be like, no, we want to stick with what we think the Bible says. And he pulls out the Bibles, and he's like, hey, you guys aren't following God's word. And then they all freeze and say, well, we want to be doing that. And then
they're like, somebody
he just gives them the Bibles,
down?
and they all listen to him. What did you say?
I was like, they're like, somebody wrote it down? It's on paper and everything.
The good book is actually a book?
Wiggity what?
So, yeah.
So yeah, not too bad. Not shabby. It's alright.
Yeah. I'd say it wasn't amazing, but it could have been a lot worse. I think they handled it pretty well for the stereotypical episode it is. Like I said, the only time I've ever seen this done and I've loved it is when VeggieTales did it with the Good Samaritan. But maybe that's because, like, that's the first one I ever saw.
Yeah.
Or it could just be because VeggieTales did it way better than everyone else.
Also, it's the closest one to actually being, like, a true story-ish. I mean, technically, it's still a parable.
Yeah.
The Good Samaritan isn't actually a thing that happened, but... There's also the fact that the Good Samaritan is a story. I mean, it starts out with, like, two people on a hill throwing objects at each other, like all these stories do.
They're throwing boots
and
at each other,
yeah, boots and
pots.
Yeah. But
and then in the end, they throw candy and flowers at each other, which... They're like, oh, this is so nice. We're throwing candy and flowers there. And I'm like, okay, I would rather be there for the shoes and the pots because I'm allergic to flowers and they're hucking candy at you. That's going to be painful.
You're vegetables. Shouldn't candy be your enemy? Or is candy...
Like it melts through their skin and they're like, oh,
or is candy what they love? Because if there's candy around, people won't eat the vegetables. They'll eat the candy. It's the perfect decoy to keep them alive. This is getting a little too close to Seth Rogen's Sausage Party movie now.
Oh my gosh. Don't talk about that movie.
So this episode, you know, pretty decent. I haven't heard that word in a long time.
Like I said, I wouldn't say it was amazing, wouldn't say it was awful. I would say it was okay.
Yeah.
Which is... like we both said at the beginning, a lot better than we thought it would be because we didn't think we'd like this one.
Yeah.
So everything was handled pretty well.
Yeah.
I liked Maybelline.
So did I.
Isn't that like a food or something?
Yeah,
like,
that's why I made a
Maybelline.
joke about it earlier. Yeah, it's like a butter substitute. Their motto is maybe it's Maybelline or something like that. That's why when you said her name, I was like, I can't believe it's not Maybelline. Product placement.
I think I would give this episode a solid 3.
I think I'll give it a 3.5.
Yeah. I feel like those are pretty fair scores.
Yeah, they're pretty average.
Yeah. My average one is just, my average default is 3.
good 60%.
Yeah.
Solid.
Anything else you want to say?
I don't think so. I mean, given the setup for the plot, there were a number of things that surprised me, and that was a really pleasant experience.
Yeah. No, it
There were
surprises
things that made me laugh, things that I enjoyed. And yeah,
The McNutts have a sheriff, but the other clan doesn't.
Yeah, it seems like the McNutt sheriff resides over both clans. They made it sound like.
Which is super biased. And
not at all. Not
because,
at
like,
all.
he gets attacked, and then they're like, oh, we gotta tell the sheriff. And then they respond, he was the sheriff. And, yeah.
Also, not at all like Not One of Us. I'm going to talk to the mayor.
I am the mayor.
Yeah. And lo, I am the mayor.
I am the mayor. That works because it's a type of horse. It's a type of hooved creature. Depending on how you spell it.
Mayor.
Mayor Margaret Fay. It's a different kind of mayor.
M-A-R-E. Aram. Boise, Idaho. Potatoes. Potatoes?
I feel like we have, like, a quote for everything in this episode.
We do, and we just string between them like a crazy broken connect the dot puzzle. And I have no idea how often people actually keep up with it. Are jumping around.
I want someone to make a conspiracy board for this episode and just, like, have a red, like, string and just tie all the quotes together and just take all the quotes that we used for this episode and not say what the episode we reviewed is, and then get people to try and guess what episode we reviewed.
We connected all the dots, and then the dots formed a picture. What was it? A pony. I'm not sure what it means yet. I'm working on it.
What was that from again?
Case of the Disappearing Hortons.
Right. I liked those two guys.
Irby
They're
and
only in,
Sully,
like,
yeah.
2 episodes, though.
Yes, they are. Anyway, so yeah, that's that, and next episode is Parker for President. Which Parker will it be? I guess we'll have to find out.
I don't know. I've started the episode like 3 times, so I've only been able to get like 8 minutes in because I haven't been able to pay enough attention because I've been doing other things.
So
I don't really even know what's going on in it.
Turn to that right now. And here we are now, back with episode 802, Parker for President, written by Kathy Buchanan. What happens in this episode, Victoria?
So, in this episode, we have, in this ring, ding ding, Olivia Parker versus, ding ding, Matthew Parker for president. And we have Emily as the one who is running Matthew's campaign, and this new kid at school, Mori, I'm assuming it's spelled M-O-R-I.
I assume so as well.
Is the one who's running Olivia's campaign. He's a new kid at school, but he was in like a bunch of other elections, like helping people run theirs at past schools.
Mm-hmm.
And then Zoe, everyone's favorite character, is back. And she is like the one who's doing the publicity and stuff. She's like on the paper and she's leads them in a debate later and stuff.
Just being the
and so it's just basically like Olivia versus Matthew for presidency, and then at the end they like they're getting along really well, but then Maury's like, so he's upset because there's nothing like
juicy.
Yeah, nothing juicy going on, and the election's happening like way too easily. And Maury's like, well, maybe if they were like fighting each other or something like that, I don't know. And, I mean, maybe if they were fighting each other or something like that. He has a really nasally voice. And so then all this hubbub starts happening, and the hullabaloo's going on, and they have, like, a really unprofessional debate where they start, like, over the radio at school, where they start, like, airing each other's dirty laundry and stuff. And by that,
an unprofessional
about, like,
debate in an election episode.
When they were younger. Why should anyone care about that? I don't know. And then in the end, like, there's, like, 2 tropes that can happen with this kind of election. Trope number 2 happens, and a running candidate is elected, and it's Emily. So she's president now.
Yeah.
And we find out, well, they don't say it for sure, but you No.
You know.
Mori was the one behind this crap. I have a lot to say about Mori.
What was the
talk
first
about
trope
him
you
in
were
a
going to say,
minute.
Victoria? I'm curious if we were thinking the same thing.
What?
What was the first trope that you were going to say that could have happened? I'm curious if we were thinking the same thing.
Just like one of them's like, I'm sorry, blah, 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 and then one of the two get elected because the other one like drops out or something like that.
Oh, I thought
or
that
they're like, you
the
should
other-
vote for this person.
I was going to say the other possibility besides the third party getting elected was that somehow they both become president. Because this episode was set up where one of them wasn't supposed to be the good guy and one was the bad guy, and so clearly they can't let just one of them have it, so it's either both of them or it's neither of them.
This episode reminded me so strongly, and I knew it would going into it, that one episode of The Replacements where both Riley and Todd run for president. And then at the end, the people they replaced just start making out. That was actually really funny. And then Biden candidate is elected because Buzz like stuffs the ballot for some weird SpongeBob parody character.
All right.
And
so
yeah, his name was like Roundhead Cube Pants, and he looked like a humanoid version of SpongeBob, and it was really weird.
So we start the episode off by being #2real as we hear about the consistent pattern of Odyssey Elementary or Odyssey Middle School consistently prioritizing sports funding over maintenance, tech upgrades,
I know,
the band,
I was like,
and anything else that needs it more. And I was
this
like,
is accurate.
As you just mentioned, this is Zoe's first appearance in the regular broadcast episodes and her first appearance after her first appearance in Take It on Trust in the 2015 OAC season.
Zoe sounds way too much like Olivia. There were so
I
many
know.
points where I couldn't tell the difference between anyone talking.
The first scene, I thought it was just Olivia and Emily, and I was really confused
I
until I realized
know.
Zoe was there too.
And then they're like, "Hey Zoe," and I'm like, "Where did she come from?"
Ugh.
Ah, how long have you been there?
So, like you said,
It's like that. I keep on referencing things. It's like that one scene in Yu-Gi-Oh! Bridge when Teia's talking with everyone else, and then Ishizu says something, and she's like, "Oh, Ishizu! Holy crap! I didn't see you there." And then he talks for like 10 more seconds, and then Ishizu says something else. She's like, "Oh my gosh, Ishizu!" That happens.
Where did
like
you come
6
from?
times.
She manifested from
Yeah.
the power of friendship.
And anyway, Mori. Can I talk about Mori for a minute?
Sure.
I don't know if he's gonna be in more episodes, but I'm hoping he is because some background. Me and this episode have a weird relationship, kind of, because I've tried to listen to it like 3 times, and I've always been too focused on other things to get through it. So I've kind of heard like little bits of the first part, but I never was able to get more than halfway through. But the entire time I was like, okay, there's something up with this Mori kid, because what's his deal? He is so creepy, and he was like super unsettling. So it took me about like
it seemed very
2 weeks
conniving
to actually like fully. So I heard like about the first 5 minutes, and then 2 weeks later I listened to like the whole thing through, and the entire like 2 weeks between I was just like thinking about how weird and unsettling and disturbing this Mori kid was, and I'm like, there's something going on with this kid, because he's freaky, and I've come to the conclusion that he's like Dr. Blackguard reincarnated. Oh my gosh, this kid is pure evil. He's like some mind games going on. I don't know what his deal is, but he's scary. And then at the end of the episode, he's like, "Oh yes, all according to plan. I'm gonna go find Richard Maxwell and Philip Glossman." And I'm like, "You leave. You get out of here." And he mentions his sister. I don't know if his sister's actually going to appear. I hope she is.
it was real. I'll get to that later.
It was
but
just like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna go hang out with my sister," and I'm like, "Is she gonna appear?" And then he just leaves, and I'm like, "Okay, bye."
I'll talk
I
about
hope
that
your
at the
sister
end.
appears to make that line actually purposeful.
I'll talk about that at the end, but yeah,
Because it was just like a weird line.
I can't figure out where Mori's from. They said overseas. He doesn't
Yeah.
seem to have an accent that I could discern apart from like a generic like North American, like U.S. Canada
Yeah, he
accent.
didn't sound like he had an accent to me. I'm assuming like Mori, as in Mori Senpai, like that.
The name's Japanese.
The name, so it's
Assuming
Japanese.
it's spelled the same.
Um,
But yeah, he had an American
know.
accent, so I wasn't sure. But yeah, I mean, there may be a different spelling of Mori, or maybe from other countries. But yeah, I was actually thinking of Mori from Pacific Rim, but you're
maybe
true.
he's from Canada.
Maybe. Canada's
Yeah.
overseas.
Overseas in Canada.
It's over the Great Lakes, at least, except for Michigan.
Except for Michigan. I'm from Michigan. I went across a canoe on Michigan.
It's funny because this episode is going to come out way after Memories of Jerry, but we just recorded it like 5 minutes ago.
Oh, darn it.
Yeah.
This consistency.
So Emily, like you said, decides to be Matthew's campaign manager. She's like, you have one big thing going for you. Matthew's like, what? And I was like, don't say me, don't say me, don't say me. And she's like, I'm your campaign manager. It's like,
and you're like, Emily, you're so obnoxious. I don't know about you, but the entire time he was, like, Matthew was talking, I was like, I miss Zach. I miss Zach. I miss Zach so much. I miss him so much. And then I listened to the Greenland Conspiracy right after, and I was like, I miss Zach so much.
Summer of Steven.
They've had to go through, like, 3 Matthew voice actors. I wish they just stuck with Zach, and then they just, like, let him go through puberty, and they just accepted that, because
works so well for Jimmy.
Had him with his puberty voice. Like, they had his deeper voice in episodes, and then they switched to his younger voice, and then they did that, like, 5 times with his character, and it sounds like he has, like, weird issues going on with his voice if you don't know what's going on behind the scenes.
It's not like he can't make his voice sound younger. He still does Steven Universe just fine.
He still does Steven Universe. I mean, you can tell the difference between
and
his
also,
voice,
it's very different. It's not his normal
difference.
voice that he does for Steven. Like, he does make it more, like, higher and nasally than he does for Matthew. But still, you know.
Speaking of nasally voices, Mori. What did you think of Mori's voice?
Yeah, well, yeah, I was like, it definitely didn't help in trying to identify his nationality.
Yeah.
So
I found that you get used to Mori's voice pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Also, he's easy to recognize in a crowd, so that's nice. He talks, and I'm like, there's the blackguard spawn.
Matthew and Olivia.
He's pure evil.
Matthew and Olivia.
I am sure of it.
Very polite and sweet to each other right off the bat, although I'm like, I assume it'll be this thing where they're nice at first, and then it gets way more competitive as time goes on, and it gets personal, and then they finally hit the point where they're like, what have we become? As they've, like, handcuffed each other to each other at the bottom of a river of gold.
Lucy and Kurt's, like, debates.
Sorry?
In my opinion,
never got that bad. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Because Lucy's and Kurt's got, like, pretty bad.
Olivia's like, your father is an alcoholic. And then Matthew's like, we have the same father.
I really, really liked that scene when they were just, like, talking to each other at night. I thought that was, like, really, really sweet.
It was.
And
that's what I was talking about here.
Had any scenes between them that were really sweet in that way. Mm-hmm. They're just kind of casual scenes we've had between them. And I thought, like, oh, that's really nice. And I found that, like, scenes at night in the kitchen in normal, like, kid shows are always super sweet. Like, we have the scenes with Audrey and her dad. And in, like, the Equestria Girls movies, you have, like...
honestly, I was
Twilight,
thinking of that.
Yeah, Twilight and Sunset. And except for, it's always sweet if it's, like, a kid's thing. If it's not, if it's an adult movie, it's gonna be a slasher in the kitchen, and he's gonna kill you.
Yeah.
So... don't go in the kitchen at night, at all. That's the moral of this episode.
And don't go like, hello, is anybody there? Because if the killer's there,
and if someone calls you and they're like, do you like scary movies? And you're Drew Barrymore, hang up.
So, yeah, that is the part I was referencing when I was like, wow, this is really sweet off the bat. Although I'm sure it's going to devolve terribly by the end. So, Mori shows up and they're like, he has all sorts of experience. They're like, he never loses an election. I'm like, okay, so basically that means he's super cutthroat and underhanded psychological mastermind that, like, destroys the other opponent.
I just thought they meant he was smart, but you're probably right. He is evil. He's evil. He is evil.
I was like, I assume he's basically going to be like a tiny, as far as advisors go, like a tiny Bart Rathbone in Kurt's election, where he's like, you need to get the dirt. You need to get the dirt on Lucy.
Okay, can we both agree that he is the one who left that note on the locker?
Obviously.
Yeah. Because I thought it was Zoe until the end of the episode. Do you agree with me that Mori is pure evil?
Well...
they're like, we haven't had Vance in a while. Let's come up with someone worse than Vance. Because Vance is like a gang dude.
Seeking
Let's come up with
entertainment,
someone
if nothing
to be
else.
the new overarching villain in Odyssey. I want to see this guy fight Whit.
He didn't do anything that bad. I mean, you know, he was trying to make things interesting, but I don't think he was trying to be evil, per se. Anyways, if Mori is allegedly so apprehensive about the messiness of politics that he's done with it, I'm really surprised that Olivia then she's like, but I'm running against my brother. That doesn't set him off permanently, because clearly that makes things way much more a recipe for disaster than if they weren't, right? That makes he's like, politics are too messy. She's like, I'm running against my brother, and he's like, oh well, it's gonna be fine then, unless of course he just wanted a big drama fest, in which case he's like, oh, I'll do it then because this is like the perfect storm.
Yeah, I think that he was like, oh, even better for me.
Yeah.
I don't know why he picked Emily to be the person to go in. Like, the person to win, because he obviously rigged it, so Emily would be the person to win.
I mean, maybe he didn't. I figured he would.
Wait a second, Devin, didn't they say that someone set up a private election for Emily to win? Like, when the students did?
I don't think so.
Because they said, like...
Oh, wait, they said someone, like, started a campaign to vote for Emily, if that's what you mean.
I bet it was Mori.
Probably was.
I will bet you it was Mori.
Probably was, although I don't know why.
This kid...
Honestly, I thought...
This kid is driving me insane!
I thought he was going to become the president at the end. I was like, it's either him or Emily.
He doesn't need that much power. He's already powerful enough as it is.
Yeah, but why would he want to set Emily up?
That's what I've been trying to figure out.
This is like the Blackbird saga. This is the long play
going
out
now.
No,
this is the Blackbird saga.
This is
I
like,
told you,
this is like Tom for Mayor.
He's pure evil.
This is like Tom for Mayor, where he's like pulling the strings and manipulating
he's
the
like
election.
Dance Puppets Dance.
Maybe it's because he knows Emily's someone he can manipulate, because he can play off of like her pride and stuff like that. He's like, I need someone I can control in office.
Oh my gosh, you're right. You're right. You're right.
So,
Devin, you're right. This kid is evil.
So Mr. Redicop gets to reappear. I was like, wow, Mark is really getting some mileage out of his sneaky name cameo. I was really surprised by that.
I was glad they had teachers and stuff in it.
Sorry?
I was glad they had like past teachers from like The Lost Riddle.
They also they had a callback to the tuba thing, which I certainly didn't see that coming.
Yeah, and also Emily was like dissing band, and I was like, excuse me, and then
I thought
Mori
Olivia
was just like, don't diss
the band,
and I was like, thank you, Mori. That's the only time I'm ever gonna say those words to you. You evil scum, you, Mori, evil.
I thought Olivia was part of the band, but I guess not. But I mean,
I thought she was too.
In
part of Barrett's band. Maybe she's just like part of a different.
In the Trivia Penny episode in album 54, it made it seem like most of those kids were in band because they knew all this music trivia. Sorry?
The Amazing Loser.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, but she wasn't in that episode.
No, it was like the Poor Winner or something. Oh, wait. No, sorry. I was... The titles
are so... The Amazing Loser was Barrett and Priscilla versus Matthew and Jay. Because Jay does the triangle in band.
Yeah, the titles are so similar between Poor Loser, which is the Eugene Chess episode, and The Amazing Loser, which is the music trivia episode.
Yeah.
I'm assuming with Matthew and Olivia that they will have, like, I was assuming at that point, that they will have, like, this spend-off with the rhetoric and campaign promises, and they're going to be like, we'll give you money for this, or we'll give you money for this to try and get votes. And then eventually there's actually not going to be any money left for their original intentions, and whatever happens in the end, they're going to be like, oh, now we have no money.
I thought they just like weren't going to have enough money to do like any of it. Like they were going to give all the ideas, and the teachers would be like, yeah, we're actually just spending this on something else.
Yeah, they didn't even say the student council president would get to
they said,
decide.
Like,
they'd be part of the discussion.
Things. They never said they can definitely get things for them. And I was like, kids, you don't have that much power. You're not God. Like, you're not the principal. You're not the stewards of this money. You can vote. It's not like you directly are electing the president. You are one vote of millions.
So, yeah, like you said, Mori's really sneaky. I expected that he was...
he's more than sneaky. He is underhanded.
Okay, we get it, Victoria.
Scum.
We get it.
Demon spawn. Carry on.
I expected him to convince Olivia to create controversy, but he was so much better than that because he convinced a neutral party to do it, because if Olivia did it, then it would look bad for her from at least one side, but he convinced a neutral party, third party, to do it in Zoe so that Olivia doesn't look like a bad guy from either perspective. Emily...
I like that Olivia and Matthew, some people might say like they got too carried away. I don't think they got too carried away.
Really wasn't that bad. Not as bad as I thought it would get.
They're like, oh man, we're gonna say such bad things. I can just imagine Mori like sitting there and he's like, say all the bad things. And Olivia's like, Matthew used to sleep with a stuffy when he was 2. And then Mori's just like, you idiots.
It's like Family Values when Rodney is trying to get Sam and Kelly to argue with each other.
Family and the Johnson.
He's like, fight with each other, and she's like, I think you have a beautiful singing voice.
And he's like, it's not that beautiful. And she's like, yes it is, you should join choir, you're amazing, it's super talented.
And Rodney's like so Emily, on the other hand, is, I thought where this was going to go was on the Matthew Parker side of things. That she was going to be like, yeah, you need to change who you are. Because at first she's like, change your name to Matt. Because it sounds better, tests better with our focus groups and stuff. And so from there, I assumed, okay, I guess the trajectory is on Matthew's side of the campaign. He's going to continually keep on changing things about himself to please people until he's like, this isn't me anymore. But that was really the only thing on down that line.
I thought they were gonna like talk about that and talk about how that's a bad thing.
Yeah,
but they never did. And I was like, guys,
he called himself Matt, and she's like, you need to be more likable. So I'm like, okay, I get it. It's like, be true to yourself and stuff, and he won't be, and then he'll be deceptive. But he calls himself Matt, and then they never address that again. He just continues to call himself Matt, and they never address any other ways that he changes himself, and he never complains about not, and it just, that never comes up again.
And also, Olivia was like lying to everyone, so they could have addressed how they're both like.
It was interesting. I mean, I feel like people shouldn't need that message. I feel like we've had enough episodes about that, and it's somewhat obvious. But I was still surprised that because it seemed cliche wise, like, oh, I guess that's what we're doing here, and then we didn't. So I was like, oh, interesting. So
this album, I feel the need to apologize because I was a big jerk, and I knew I was when we were doing the predictions, and I was like, this album's gonna suck in every single way. I have listened to episodes from it, I'm not gonna say how many, of this album, and it surprised me because all the episodes I didn't think were gonna be very good were actually really, really good, and they put like new twists on things that on like tropes that we've seen been done a bunch of times, and I thought they did them very well, and I'm actually immensely enjoying this album. So I really love this album a lot.
What I was going to say with Matthew is, because they never address the Matt, I mean, they call him Matt for the rest of the episode, and they never address him going back to normal, so I'm curious if he's going to stick with that after this episode?
No.
Are you saying no, or are you guessing no?
What answer do you want?
Okay, I guess that means that they don't stick with that.
They never call him Matt again. They never mention it again.
So yeah, I was like, okay, this sounds really weird.
If you think about it, what's the point in continuing calling him Matt? Because he doesn't like that if he's not even in the election.
Well, here's the thing. He didn't complain about, he's like, okay, I'll do this. He never says like, oh man, I'm not being true to myself, or I don't like being called Matt. He's like, okay. And then they just go with that, never comment on it again.
He calls himself Matthew a bunch of times, and Emily's like, Matt! And he's like, whatever.
Oh, I don't remember that part.
Yeah, there was one part where she corrected him, and he was just like, whatever.
Okay. I like how, and I feel like this was less so from what I thought it was going to go to what it actually ended up being, but it seemed like they were having the candidates like take equal but different strategies to get votes. Like Olivia was focusing on leadership and communication, and Matthew was focusing more on ideas and stuff, and there was definitely overlap in their strategies, but I feel like there was an intentionality in the differences in their campaigns. Like they weren't competing in the same way, they were like using different strategies. And yeah, like I said, because we can't have one person when in an episode where neither Matthew or Olivia are strictly an antagonist and the other isn't, means we can't have just one person win and the other not.
Mori was the antagonist.
So clearly, either they both win together, which would be a subtle reference to the title, Parker for President, because they both end up becoming president, or a third party wins, either Mori or Zoe somehow, and then end up being Emily, anyways, who's the only other option.
I thought Emily was going to be like, hey, vote for Matthew and stuff. This is why you should vote for Matthew. And she ran in at the end. But then she just kept on talking. And then as she kept on talking, I was like, okay, Emily's going to win. And then they're like, the results are back. Yeah. Emily, stay in the office. And I was like, Emily won.
Yeah, so...
When did you figure it out?
I think it was that same part when she's talking. I'm like, yeah, it's definitely going to be Emily. Yeah, mm-hmm. I feel like with the thing where I was like, it can't be either one of them who wins because neither one has been set up to be the bad guy and therefore has to lose to the other one. It reminded me a lot of how people talked about one of the criticisms of Frozen was the fact that we have Anna presented with two romantic interests, Hans
Anna.
And... Sorry?
Anna. Not Anna.
Sorry,
that's just a pet peeve of mine when people call her Anna, and I'm like, I cannot pronounce
with Hans
Anna.
And Kristoff, they're like, if they were both not antagonists, Disney wouldn't let one of them find romance and the other one not. She can't choose between two of them and the other be a nice guy and not get a romantic interest in the end. So the only way to choose between one of them is to have one of them become a bad guy.
Anyway.
Back to Adventures in Odyssey. Yeah, the thing with Matthew, the thing that surprised me the most was not even that they just never addressed the whole, like, name change thing and how he changed it just so people would like him more, but the person who came up with this Flim Flam Phillips-esque idea is the one who ended up becoming president in the end. Without that ever being addressed.
Flim Flam Phillips for president. Nothing can go wrong.
And yeah, like you said, I feel like there's definitely something more to this Mori guy in the long term, especially now we finally get to it at the end. The way that he said, it was the inflections around the way he says that he has to go meet his sister, sounded like it was a setup for some reveal. What it reminded me of precisely...
His sister's Richard Maxwell.
The thing it reminded me of precisely was the beginning of It's All About Me in album 40, when this new character, Trent, shows up and he's talking all about his brother in this exact same kind of way, and then it turns out,
and then Jared walks in.
It's Jared. This is Trent DeWhite. This is Jared's brother. It was very similar to that. He's like, oh, I have to go meet my sister. And I was like, okay, the reveal. Who's his sister? And it doesn't happen. I'm like,
the episode ends.
Well, clearly there's something more here. So he must appear again. Something's going to come up.
More.
Mayor Margaret Faye.
That's the wrong version of Mayor.
So yeah, I guess we'll see in the future.
I think that without Mori in this episode, it would have still been rather stereotypical, and I wouldn't have liked it.
I feel like it still was pretty stereotypical. I feel like it wasn't as bad as... I feel like Feud of Mason County and this one both so far, it's like they aren't as bad as I thought they would be.
Exactly.
But they're still not great. They're just kind of all right.
I'd say both of them are okay. They're not as bad as I thought they would be, but they both have, like, little redeeming factors about them.
Yeah, but they're still mostly
pretty cliche. In Feud of Mason County, for me, the, like, factor was the fact that they were all Christians, and one of them was actually willing to listen to things, and that made it so much easier for things to happen and for things to get wrapped up. And just, like, the dispute over the land ended really quickly. And in this one,
as soon as they
the
got an
redeeming
actual
factor
Bible
for me was Mori, because Mori was, like, super interesting, and then it just kind of, like, ends. As soon as you're like, we're gonna learn more about this guy, this, like, weird sociopath child, and then it just ends, and you're like, I need more. I don't know if Mori's gonna be in more episodes. I'm hoping he is.
Surely he must be. It's all that
but
setup.
I'm not sure. Like, it's killing me, because I want to know if he's in more stuff, but I don't know. They set up this character, and I don't know if he's gonna be in more stuff, and he's evil, and I need to know what he's up to.
That's one of the downsides of Adventures in Odyssey and lots of shows of this format, is that there's no guarantee that anything that seems like it should have consequences in later things will have consequences in later things.
Mm-hmm. Mori better be in another episode. He better not be a Riley, where they have this great character and they just do nothing with it.
I don't think he is.
Especially if
the sister line more than anything convinces me he has to appear again.
Just for his sister. Otherwise, what was the purpose of that line? He could have said, like, oh, my parents are picking me up. Instead of like, oh, I have to go meet my sister.
And
I'm
just
like,
the way he said it. The way he said it was so, like, wonk. But I don't know who it could be.
Do you think the sister's someone we know or a new character?
It has to be.
A new character?
No, someone we know or know of.
I think it's a new character.
Either way, it's someone significant. Someone, whether it's someone we know or not, it's someone who has significance to things.
What do you mean by that?
Well, it's not just
like
another random character. I mean, there wouldn't be like this, like, kind of emphasis if it was just some random girl.
Like a character that's going to be focused on, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Someone who we already know or who will become important in the future.
So, I'm going to give this episode a 2.8 out of 5. What?
Yeah, I guess that's not terrible.
I feel like it's okay. It probably could have been better, but it wasn't bad. I'd listen to it again. Just not at the moment. Maybe I'll wait like a couple weeks or something before I listen to it again. I don't need to. It's not like one of those episodes where I'm like, I need to listen to it again right away. It was so amazing. It's like, I need to know what's happening with Mori, so I'm just going to keep on listening to other stuff.
Like you said, there was some stuff that was different about it, mostly Mori-related stuff, but on the whole, mostly normal, predictable stuff. I'm like, okay, I can see this all coming. This is how it's gonna happen, because this is like the 9th school election episode we've had on this show. So
but
it's like,
to be fair,
there's nothing new under the sun.
We haven't had one ever since the very early episodes.
It has been a while.
Because, but also, to be fair, they had 6 election episodes within 10 or less seasons of Odyssey.
They were some pretty close together.
And Lucy and Kurt were in all of them.
They were in 2 of them. What, to be fair, it's because
I guess the last time they had one was the one with Courtney and Rusty.
By Any Other Name was for the class representative to the student council, and then It Takes Integrity was for the student body president. That's why they had them so close together.
Whatever.
It was for the next highest office.
It was a little arc with Mudraker and
Muckraker,
I can't remember what Kurt's one's called. What is it called?
Sorry?
What's the one with Kurt? No, what's the one with Kurt's dad?
Oh, Home is Where the Hurt Is.
Yeah. Oh, that title. Oh,
I know.
Kurt.
Music at the end.
Oh.
Here, fishy, fishy,
It
fish.
ends with him crying. That's the saddest ending. Especially for Kurt, because we never had a serious episode with him.
Yeah.
Until that point.
And I appreciate that Lucy,
comedy.
checks to make sure that there's no, physical abuse involved. She actually addresses that explicitly. It's good. I'm gonna give this episode, I don't know, 2.9, maybe, just to be different. But yeah, about the same, I guess.
Wait, what's that one with where he hallucinates the whole thing? Here for a Day?
Yeah.
That one I'm counting also. That one was also Kurt in a political...
That's my rating for this episode. And I think we've said all that there is to say.
Any last thoughts? Mori is evil. He is Dr. Blackguard reincarnated. He is evil.
It's like Blackguard's revenge. He finally found a kid. The Blackguard virus lived on. He finally found a kid he could imprint his brain onto. This is his first step in becoming, in his true...
He's gonna be a real boy like Pinocchio!
Yeah, it's just like Darkness Before Dawn, where his true world domination plan is to become mayor of Odyssey. And he has to become student...
He's gonna start with the school and then move on. It's like Mao, where he's like, I'm gonna take over the universe, but I'm gonna start with this McDonald's, and then I'm gonna expand. He's like, I'm gonna start with the school, and then I'm just gonna move on to the world.
Yeah. One baby step at a time.
Emily's his puppet. Oh my gosh, this is making me worried about Emily.
I feel like there's a 95% chance that we're reading way too much into Mori's character, honestly.
I don't think we're reading into Mori enough.
I hope that we're not. I hope that this is all what's going to happen. and I'm scared.
It'll be funny, but not actually if he never appeared again.
That's what I'm saying. I'm worried that it might actually be we're reading way too much into it, but I hope we're not. I hope this is all actually significant.
No, seriously though, I haven't been this unnerved by a character in Odyssey ever since like Dr. Trask when he was doing his weird
Cult thing,
spiritual thing, like, and Mr. Skint. Like,
so the
oh my
real
God.
question is then.
He's so unnerving. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
Like, he's really creepy.
Is Emily is this episode going to have significance whether through Mori or even just
Emily's
Emily?
Mori's sister. She just doesn't know.
We can finally get more brother stuff, just like we were also talking about in Memories of Jerry between Barrett.
Yeah, Barrett. We haven't
and
seen
Mori.
Barrett in forever. What happened
It's
to him?
true. He went with Priscilla away to
Aw.
ABC or wherever it was.
Aw, they're together. No,
Um,
I'm glad if they're gone, they're
they're
gone
together.
together.
What was I say? Emily, is that presidency going to actually affect future? Is it ever going to be mentioned again, or is it just like another just kind of woo, off in the wind? Honestly, I'm like super on the fence. I feel like it's 50-50 whether or not it's ever going to influence things.
I don't
again.
think it's going to be mentioned again, which is unfortunate. Unless Mori shows up.
It's true.
If Mori shows up.
If Mori shows
then
up again, then it'll all have to
it
tie
might.
together.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I could totally see it being mentioned or having effect in future episodes. I could totally see it not. If you know, please don't tell us.
Yeah. I know, but I'm not going to say.
Yeah, I know. You're just talking based off of what you thought at the time, which is totally independent of what you actually know, which you're hiding now.
I haven't said anything about what I actually know.
I know.
You should at least give me props for that. I haven't spoiled you about anything.
Yes, I appreciate it. I would have appreciated more if you hadn't listened to stuff. But
Oh, well.
anyways,
Mori's evil.
that's all for now. So we'll turn you over to past Devin and Victoria, unless you have anything else to say.
I'm hungry.
All right. And they'll wrap this episode up because they'll know what we're doing next time. And so there you have it. Those are all of our thoughts for the moment about Feud in Mason County and Parker for president.
Did you just forget what it was for a second?
No.
Oh, okay.
What are we talking about next episode, Victoria?
Where your treasure is. No, also. Maybe it's in brackets or something
No,
like
it
that.
is where your treasure is.
It's like a silent also.
No, because
You just whisper
the also
that
comes
word.
after the heart. It's where your treasure is. There your heart will be also.
I don't know what
All
you're
the
talking
things Victoria would know
about
about if she read her Bible.
I don't know what you're talking about.
What's the other episode, Victoria?
I do read my Bible, thank you. I am in Genesis still. Shut up. It's Operation Digout.
Yes, Operation Digout, for those who couldn't hear. Yeah, we're finishing up that little semi-two-parter so that, we can move on to December, our very last Year of Whit episode that'll be coming up pretty quick. And so after the next episode, that'll be our OAC episode for November, and then we will be able to move on to the remaining 4 reviews for album 61.
I can't look at myself in the camera. I'm so self-conscious right now.
We'll do that. And then we'll do other stuff, and we'll keep on going forever and ever until we die. Or until Jesus comes back, whichever comes first. So yeah, that's the plan. That's our long-term plan for the podcast.
It's our long-term plan for life.
Yeah.
This podcast is our life.
It feels like it sometimes. Ugh.
You so more than me.
Until next time, thank you for joining us on our side of the YouTube. I've been Devin Francis, also known as Leonard Meltzner.
I'm just a swirling void of anxiety and self-hatred.
And you've been watching The Adventures in Odyssey Oddcast. Oh, goodbye.